Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Bagman.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. What's the deal with the 3D Realms Anthology pack? It's like a collection of games that's digital. I didn't have a thing, but I wanted to talk about this because it came out a little while ago, and just very recently now this package has come out on Steam, and I guess I felt like it was time to just talk about it. I don't know if I did an episode about it already or not. I don't think I did. If I did, whatever, fuck off. You get another one, possibly better. So, the thing is, 3D Realms, you may know them for doing such games as Duke Nukem games, and, probably those, if anything. And, they've done other stuff too, and, this pack is about, it's a collection of a bunch of games that, they did under the name of 3D Realms and other company names they had before, like Apogee. There might be some others. I don't know all of the different company names they were, but I knew those two, so give me some credit. And the thing is, this pack is a bunch of those old games. It's, just putting all those old games together in this little package. Sounds nice, right? Nice little collection to have all the games together that maybe you played back in the, the 80s and 90s and such. Well, the thing is, 3D Realms kind of went out of business, more or less, years ago. They weren't really doing anything, and now they're under, some new management, some new people now have bought it up, and they own 3D Realms now, so it's kind of neat. They did this. This was their way to show everyone, okay, 3D Realms is back, and we're gonna be doing stuff now. And how do they do that? By releasing a bunch of old games that they themselves didn't even work on. Now, the idea is fine. The idea was to have this pack of games of old, classic, or just, games they have the rights to that were done by 3D Realms in the past, as I'm assuming they're big fans of those if they wanted to, buy up the name and everything, and all those rights. And it's cool to have this package of everything together. It's supposed to have all these games, and they're all supposed to work on your, modern PCs. They have a little launcher to launch all the games, and there's I think there's maybe like a soundtrack with it. I don't remember if there was or not. I think there was some kind of new soundtrack you could access as well. And they're also supposed to have, controller support. So, that sounded really cool to me to have all these old games that maybe, I like having controller support, and I was interested in checking out a lot of those games anyway, since there's probably some pretty cool ones there. And it was very interesting when it came out. Now, when it came out, initially, it came out on their site. And for the first week, it was $20 to get, something like 30 or so games for, $20. With the controller support, the launcher, and working on modern stuff. That's not too bad. That sounds kind of nice. Thing is, they're all digital. You buy it and you download it. All just digital downloads of these old games that, I'm assuming it's not that hard to really make them into digital copies. They didn't really change much for any of these so far. This is as far as I've noticed. Not much has really changed in them. Except that they work with, modern machines, obviously. And that's it's okay. It's not a great deal. You can get most of these games for really cheap, if not for free, on the internet, but having them all together, not having to try and program some weird controller configuration and stuff, sounds like a pretty good deal. Even if they are just digital downloads. But the thing is, that was just for the first week when it was out on their site. And after that, it went up to $40 as its normal price. And that is a fucking ripoff. Like I said, most of those games you can get for cheap or for free online anyway. You know, you could probably find them. So there's that. There are, I don't know, there's the controller support that is supposed to be in there. It's only really for some of the games. It's not really modern controller support. I had an Xbox 360 controller, and I was using that, and it worked for some of the games, but there were some games where, you know, some of the buttons worked and some of them didn't, so it's clear that they just used the old, the old controller, from back in the day when the games originally came out. They used that kind of gamepad configuration stuff. So certain buttons on a modern controller aren't going to be useful because it won't recognize them. It doesn't. The game can't understand how to do that. And I think that was kind of lazy to not actually just program in so that you could do new things with that and map things to whatever buttons you wanted. That would be super fucking helpful, and it would actually be, nice. It would have made it actually have real controller support instead of trying to bank off of, well, it was already programmed in the game before. That's good enough for some of those. And I also had a couple of them where the controller just flat out didn't fucking work, didn't do a fucking thing, and that's not good. It's not good when that's fucking built for that. Not to mention that one of the games didn't even run when I first got it. I had to do some weird kind of like fix to try and make the game go. All that, not even bothering to do the controller support for everything, making it just a bunch of digital downloads and not really changing much of anything at all. I guess they had to create the launcher and put together a soundtrack, but they didn't really do a whole hell of a lot for this package. And asking for $40 for a bunch of digital downloads with only a little work done on them, it's not really worth it. I think that's $40 is just a bit high for that. Maybe if it was a physical copy, maybe if it came in a box with some kind of cool little collectible thing and a soundtrack and a booklet to tell you about a bunch of these games, I could see that. I could see that being definitely worth it. But to have it all just digital, and I don't know, it felt really lazy, and like they didn't really want to do much with it, which really is weird since they just came back and they didn't seem to put much effort into this new thing that they were trying to do. This thing, the first thing they've done really since with these new owners of the company. So that's really bizarre. But now that this has come onto Steam, I think this also presents a problem. For one thing, it came onto Steam and it debuted with a percent off, and so it starts at $30, but it still has 40 as its main one. So once that sale's up for the entering into Steam sale or whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's gonna go back up to $40 on Steam as well, which I could see being okay, but there's no trading cards on Steam. They don't have those, I don't think, for any of those games. Some of those games were already on Steam too, which is really strange. So it's like, some of them they used and some of them they didn't, is the weird thing about that. Where like, Duke Nukem and Duke Nukem 2 were both already on there, and they're using those versions in this collection. So you could still buy those two separately, but those are the ones they threw into here as part of this collection. And also Duke Nukem Manhattan Project. Again, it was already on Steam, and they just threw that version in with the collection, so it's probably the same one. So you can get those separately. All the rest of them, you can't get separately. Which is weird because there's, for Duke Nukem 3D, this is probably just the DOS version of it put onto here. So that there is also the Megaton edition on Steam, which has a lot of different things put into it and a lot more work in it, and it's not available separately. This is just a different version. So now there's that version, and then there's the Megaton one, which is different. Megaton edition is different than the one in this pack. And Shadow Warrior is even worse because there is, the Shadow Warrior Classic Redo, which is on there, and that's like a remake of that by the same people who did the Duke Nukem one or whatever. But then there's also Shadow Warrior Classic, which is the DOS version of it, and that's free for them to get on Steam anyway. That's just there for free. You can just get it. And I'm damn sure that is the exact same version that they're using in this pack, but in this pack, the Shadow Warrior one is not available separately, so they're not even showing that it has that free one there, which is really weird that they don't have that on there. I don't know why they would bother to do that. So just stuff like that is kind of weird to me, that they're kind of, some stuff is available separately, some of it isn't, which I think all of them being available separately would be a really good idea, so that people who wanted to buy the separate things didn't have to buy this gigantic pack of, however many games they don't even really want. Because $40 is kind of a lot of money to spend on, you've only probably heard of a handful of the games. You're probably only going to really like a handful of the games. And there's going to be a few of the games in there where you absolutely hate them. And then there's probably going to be a lot in the middle where you're like, it was okay. You play it maybe once or twice in your life, and that's it. And it's not worth paying the full $40 to get all of that shit and only really play a little bit of it. And I think that's just kind of sad that that's the way they've gone with this, and still not brought the price down or put more effort into it to make it worth the price. Especially now that it's on Steam, there's other stuff like, what about, playing online and leaderboards and multiplayer? The controller support's still an issue. This stuff, there's no trading cards really for that either. Are they going to do that stuff, or are they going to leave it like this and still say it's $40? Is that worth it when you can't buy anything separately? How do you know if that's even really a deal or not? I don't know. So it's just, I find it just a tad ridiculous that they're bothering to do that anyways. But it can't be helped. I guess if they don't want to put the effort in and do that, that's their thing. And I think the real kicker here also is the fact that they have new management at 3D Realms now. And instead of doing something new, their first order of business was, let's release all of this old shit that, we haven't really put much work into. We'll just slap it together into a launcher and throw it out there. And let a bunch of people remember all of these games that we didn't make. They haven't done anything since then. I don't believe they've made... I think they're working on stuff, but they haven't made anything since then, and it's just that this pack really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Like, they're working on something. Until I see them actually do something with stuff, and actually, release a game or some trailer or something, an inkling that they're maybe, some substantial evidence that they're actually working on something new, be it something with their other, IPs or not. Until I see that, I guess I don't really care. I'm not really sold on this. These games we've seen for years, we've had availability to get them here and there. It's not worth $40, and I just think it's a little stupid. And it's also kind of sad because 3D Realms doesn't own Duke Nukem anymore. Their biggest fucking seller, they don't own them now. They lost that before they sold them off, so basically, at this point, they're either going to have to work with these other IPs that they still own or make a new one. And until they do something like that and actually make something that's their own, instead of repackaging what, was already made, who gives a shit? I don't know. So what's the deal with the 3D Realms Anthology pack? It's like new content with the ground. What's the deal with Sam? What's the